Good afternoon, Eric Sanjurjo with Councilmember Huizar. A couple questions for you. You mentioned that new voting equipment will be purchased. One of the ideas that the clerk put forward in their report was to do a vote by mail system like they do in Oregon. So I'm just curious how compatible IRV is with vote by mail, and specifically, I appreciate that folks were not too happy with Mr. Smith's letter, although a couple of the points he does raise I think are interesting, such as the cost of manually having to figure out the IRV system, such as if you had a mail-in system. So what cities have that, and do we know if it slows down election results, because that's been a problem in Los Angeles in the past? Just curious, and I have some other questions I can ask later.
Could you just talk about your second question a little more? So are you talking about...
It's one question, really. What cities have a IRV system where it's by mail, and how does that slow down the elections, if at all? Do they have special equipment? How does that tie into this discussion for buying new equipment? How would we handle it, I guess, is the question.
Okay, so the first question is, what do we think about vote by mail? We think that idea has promise, but the devil's in the details. In other words, you have to make sure that if you're just going to do vote by mail where people can't come in person to vote, that you go out into all the communities and make this convenient for them. You have to have access. So for example, in that city clerk's report, they talked about having vans go out to communities that historically have had lower turnout, or go out to malls, so that voters have a chance not only to vote by mail, but also to vote in person. That is really critical. You can't just have an Oregon-style vote by mail where it's just completely by mail, because there's some communities that don't utilize that option as much right now, and there's substantial concern on that regard. But I think, if you can do it right, vote by mail is a viable option that could save a lot of money. Do you want to add anything there?
No, I think what I'm saying, I think right now it's just as Richard said, it's an opportune time because we do have to buy equipment. I mean, if we're going to make the changes, this is the time to do it. And I think given that, any large bureaucracy is going to take a couple of years for implementation, I mean, we just have to really all work together, and I think community colleges will play an active role in really educating, people on voting and doing workshops going out in the community. But I think it's really important that we need to kind of move beyond what we have been doing, and this is a time for change, and there's going to be a lot of confusion at first, but I think it's critical that if we do it slowly, we do it right, that it can be a great system. And I think the power of this is that there's so many things lining up right now that this is the best time for us to be able to move in this endeavor.
And then to address the second part of your question, there's no jurisdiction that uses IRV right now that is 100% vote by mail.
Could I add to this question about possible delays? And I'm not a technical expert. My thought would be that if there were such an event, it might be the very first time. But my guess is that, again, once the people and poll workers and everybody is refocused, there's no reason that this particular method, if a computer is counting votes, which it will, and with a paper trail, which I understand is the new requirement, there's no reason it should take longer than, the current method.
Yeah, and so IRV is fully compatible with vote by mail because it's all about the paper ballot. That's what you need, and we have that right now. People, I'm a permanent absentee ballot voter, for example, and so they just get my ballot and they stick it into the machine. That would be no change. See, I have a question for Sylvia. Some people might look at instant runoff voting and go, oh, you're reducing the number of elections, and that's not good. More elections are better. How would you respond to that?
I don't know who would be crazy enough to say more elections are better in the first place. So, I mean, I really don't see anybody really telling me that. I think what we have been hearing over and over, and I say, I really listen to the students that I come across in our 9 colleges, and I look at the older generation, and I think that's, which is unusual, but I think to have these 2 huge generations in agreement about something. I think everybody's in agreement. I think there is voter fatigue. I think, we have to be honest. I think we have so many things going on all the time that I think we're burning ourselves out. And so I really don't see anybody saying, you know, give me more voting times.
Hi, my name is Monica Kuma. I'm from New American Foundation. My question is to President Scott Hayes, and I just wanted to ask you to how you think IRV would work with the diversity of LA, because we have so many communities and everyone's voting, and how it would impact the communities of color and everything like that.
I think I said I'm really excited. I think because this is going to be a new way of voting in our area, and it's not brand new. I mean, people have been doing this in other areas. But I think the fact that it's a prime opportunity for us to create excitement, I mean, that's, I think, some place where we can talk with our faculty and in our colleges and our students. I think people are excited, and I think it's the way in which you let them know that this is really an empowerment tool. I think that they can come and vote once, and, you know, because the fact is, so many times we already know who we're going to run, who we're going to vote for, not only in the primary but in the general. And I think people already have their minds made up. So why create that extra stress of having them come? And, you know, too often people forget. So I think the fact that we can take care of it all at once is really a way for us to really encourage and increase voter participation and really empower so many communities that in the past have not participated.